Isn't your relationship with Stephen A. Smith more beneficial or advantageous for you to not even render the opposition of Jason Whitlock the platform?
Yeah.
No, because at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for the platform. Nobody's seen that coming.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person that's going to get on everybody bandwagon and say, oh, let me talk to this person because everybody's talking to her, or it's a hot topic. There's been many times in Fourth and One's lineage that we've created the narrative in the whole sports world. A la game changer, game manager. A la.
Welcome everybody to the Sports Culture, all things sports. It's Jay Banfo, and we got to talk about Cam Newton and Jason Whitlock. But before we get into that, like, comment, share, subscribe, and thanks for your support. So last week, Cam Newton and Jason Whitlock broke the internet as they conducted an interview together on Cam Newton's podcast called Fourth and One. This was an interview that nobody saw coming. Cam Newton, the former NFL MVP, is now a media pundit who not only has a successful YouTube show, but he makes guest appearances on First Take during football season. Then you have Jason Whitlock, the former ESPN and Fox Sports employee who now has his own independent show called Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Now, when it comes to people in sports media, Whitlock is by far the most outspoken. Every day, it seems as if he says something, whether it's in sports or politics, that turns the internet upside down. Now, for full transparency, I gotta say that I'm a fan of Jason Whitlock and I consume his content. He always makes me think, and whatever he says, I know that he truly believes in his thoughts. So when I saw that Cam Newton and Jason Whitlock were doing a podcast together, I had to tune in. So I want to break down why it was important for these two gentlemen to talk and explain why more conversations like this are necessary in this society. Now, the reason why this interview even happened was the fact that Cam wanted to hear about all of the issues Jason Whitlock had with him. In short, Whitlock feels Cam does too much as far as the hair and wardrobe, and that those things are not only feminine, but it takes away from the message Cam wants to tell his audience. Now, they went back and forth on that, and I felt like they came to some common ground. And that happened a lot during this interview. They both made their points, didn't talk over each other, and was very respectful overall. Just that respect alone was very important to display on the platform. Today in sports media, there is this belief that you have to think the same in order to do content. That shouldn't be the case, and Cam Newton and Jason Whitlock just proved that. These two individuals are extremely different in many ways. We knew what Cam did on the football field, but even speaking on his new career path in media, his approach is out of the box. Now with Whitlock, he comes up under the traditional media landscape, meaning go to college for journalism, write for a major newspaper, and present yourself as a journalist first and foremost. That industry is almost dead, with athletes making their claim in this so-called new media era. I've always believed there should be a healthy balance of athletes in the media space and traditional journalists still having a voice. What Cam Newton and Jason Whitlock did was bridge those two worlds together, and obviously it worked because everybody is talking about that interview. Now, I believe there are people in the media who would never do what Cam Newton just did. People like Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark, and Bomani Jones would never do an interview with Jason Whitlock. They believe Whitlock isn't worthy of a conversation, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually healthy to speak to someone you totally disagree with. First, it shows a sign of maturity that you can even converse with someone you disagree with. Also, at the end of the day, it's just sports. Nobody is getting hurt, and it's just not that big of a deal. I think they just don't want to get embarrassed, because if you're not on your A game, Jason Whitlock will embarrass you just with his thoughts. Now, with that being said, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.